Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for another edition of our 6 p.m. news over Camdis Television. Let's begin with our headlines. The National Assembly has closed its doors on the first ordinary session of the 2026 legislative year in Yaoundé, marked by key institutional milestones including the amendment of the Constitution to create the position of Vice President of the Republic. The closing ceremony was presided over by the Right Honorable Theodore Ndatu. The first ever visit of Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon promises to be very charged, with 3 towns to be visited and several masses and official meetings scheduled at different locations. The Prime Minister, Head of Government, presided over the opening of the first National Symposium and Roundtable on Non-Communicable Diseases in Yaoundé, focused on promoting healthy nutrition and strengthening actions to combat these illnesses in Cameroon. You have these stories and more in a bit. We begin the news at the National Assembly, where it has this Wednesday, April 8, 2026, brought its curtains down on its first ordinary session of the 2026 legislative year, with the House Speaker, Right Honorable Theodore Ndatu, highlighting major institutional development, including the amendment of the Constitution to establish the position of Vice President of the Republic. The Speaker called on members of the National Assembly to be preachers of peace and live by example. Bertrand Tita in the following report.
The closing plenary sitting at the Paul Biya's Glass House, which was attended by government ministers led by the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gote, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the Judiciary and members of National Assembly, was an occasion for the Speaker to reflect on the achievements of the session. In his closing speech, the Speaker noted that the session had been marked by major constitutional development, including the amendment of the Constitution. He said the first ordinary session of the National Assembly for 2026 legislative year had indeed been marked by major constitutional developments, including the amendment of the Constitution to establish the position of the Vice President of the Republic. This was during the 6th Congress of Parliament. The Speaker expressed his gratitude to the honorable deputies for their role in the amendment of the Constitution, stating that their vote had played a decisive role in the significant change. The Speaker also highlighted 3 major bills adopted during the session, including the law extending the term of deputies of the National Assembly right up to the 20th of December 2026, amending certain provisions of the law on the Constitutional Council, and amending the Electoral Code. The latter now gives the President of the Republic the possibility to extend or shorten the term of municipal councillors if necessary. The Speaker urged his colleagues to be role models, live by example, and work for the well-being of citizens. This was
L'heure est à la mobilisation.
It's time to mobilize. I'll be listening to everyone and working to improve the work environment and conditions. In return, I'll expect discipline, diligence, efficiency, and competence. The National Assembly is a prestigious institution of the State of Cameroon, and its collaborators' behaviors must reflect that prestige. This Parliament chamber is the driving force behind the proper functioning of public authorities and the entire Republic. It's a significant responsibility, and we must own it.
C'est une importante responsabilité. Nous avons l'obligation de l'assumer.
This was his first session to chair as President of the National Assembly following his election to the post during the just-ended session. The session was marked by a sense of patriotism and sense of responsibility, with the Speaker expressing his confidence that the deputies will continue to demonstrate the same determination for the development of the country. The closing of the session brings to an end the first ordinary session of the National Assembly for the 2026 legislative year, with the next session expected to take place in June 2026.
Still in connection to that story, after the closing ceremony, our staff man Bertrand Tita caught up with some members of parliament to get their opinions about the session. Let's take a listen to them in the following excerpts.
I'm going home very satisfied because I happened to have participated in a session that apparently has never happened in this country, where at the same time a new president of the National Assembly is elected after 34 years, and at the same time the Congress of Parliament is convened. It has hardly happened, and being a parliamentarian at this time, I'm going home happy. But above all, there were some important bills that were adopted. The bill for the introduction of the post of Vice President of the Republic, the bill extending the mandate of parliamentarians, the bill modifying some articles of the Electoral Code to permit the head of state to extend the mandate of municipal councillors, and another bill that touched some articles of the Constitution to permit a good functioning and organization of the Constitutional Council. Created the fact that we as parliamentarians, we are supposed to promote peace on the field, because if the people don't understand what is happening, if there is ignorance, there is evil.
Modification. You cannot go to modify our constitution in the context, political and social context in our country, without talking about the age of electoral majority, which should be removed from 20 to 18 years. You cannot go to modify our constitution without talking about the duration of presidential mandate. You cannot go to the president without talking about the legitimacy of the elected president in our country, and this legitimacy cannot be a reality since we have one single round of presidential election in this country. We should go to two-round presidential election. We ask for it. We should not go to modify our constitution in this level without talking about the duration and the stability of the member of mandate of member of Constitutional Council. We came out with pertinent mandate, pertinent amendment, and they didn't want to take it in consideration because they are in majority of CPDM here. And we come here to work for the interest of the country, not for the interest of our different parties.
Well, I think the idea of the Vice President was rumored time and again, and we expected it, and it came up. Oh, there are other issues that we would have thought about. I think we've talked about the issue of trying to appease our children who have gone astray and in the bushes, that we were trying to think that if the mentioning of the English and the French at the level of the presidency and at the level of the vice president, it would have meant much to some of our children who are still in the bushes. It would have encouraged them to come out. But you know, the Constitution being what it is, we are happy that people say the head of state is not always like that. But where we were not really at ease was the fact that when you say the head of state, it has always thought about the English speaking, which is true, is good. But we are not very certain that the next head of state may also have that alliance, and it may be disturbing.
Let's now talk religion in this newscast, where the first ever visit of Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon promises to be very charged, with 3 towns to be visited and several masses and official meetings scheduled at different locations. The historic trip is expected to draw large crowds of faithful and strengthen ties between the Vatican and the Catholic community in the country. Promise Akante presents the Pope's itinerary in the following report. The visit of Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon could be likened to a marathon going by the official program. His Holiness Pope Leo XIV is expected to arrive Yaoundé through the Yaoundé-Singmaleng International Airport on Wednesday, April 15, 2026 at 3:20 p.m. with a welcome ceremony scheduled. A courtesy visit to the President of the Republic follows suit at the Presidency of the Republic at 4:20 p.m. He will meet with authorities, the civil society and the diplomatic corps at 5:05 p.m. at the Kornyada Conference Center for 40 minutes before heading to put smiles on the faces of the orphans of Ngoluzamba Orphanage at 5:45 p.m. The first day of his visit culminates with a private meeting at the head office of the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon with the bishops at 6:25 p.m. The second day of Pope Leo XIV's visit will have him shuttle Yaoundé, Bamenda and back to Yaoundé on Thursday, April 26, 2026. The Holy Father will take off from the Yaoundé-Singmaleng International Airport at 10:05 a.m. and will touch down the Bamenda International Airport at 11 a.m. With all the expectations from the population and trusting this visit will bring the much desired peace, Pope Leo XIV will hold a meeting for peace with the community at the St. Joseph Cathedral in Bamenda at 11:30 a.m. for the longest meeting of his stay in Cameroon. More blessings for the population will be at 3:15 p.m. when the Holy Father celebrates Mass at the Bamenda International Airport before his departure from the airport for Yaoundé at 5:20 p.m. Day 2 of the Pope's visit rounds off 6:20 p.m. with his arrival at the Yaoundé-Singmaleng International Airport. Back in Yaoundé, the Sovereign Pontiff continues Day 3 with another marathon Yaoundé-Douala-Yaoundé trip beginning at 9 a.m. with his departure from the Yaoundé-Singmaleng International Airport for Douala, where he is expected to touch down at 9:55 a.m. The Japoma Stadium in Douala will play host to the Mass to be celebrated by the august guest at 11 a.m. A private visit to the St. Paul Catholic Hospital at 1:20 p.m. precedes the Pope's departure from Douala to Yaoundé, scheduled for 2:10 p.m. with his arrival at the Yaoundé-Singmaleng International Airport scheduled for 3:15 p.m. Friday, April 17, marking Day 3 of the Pope's visit, will culminate at the Catholic University of Central Africa, where Pope Leo XIV will meet with the university community in Colbison. The Holy Father will celebrate Mass at the 101 Air Base in Van on Saturday, April 18 at 9:30 a.m. before heading to the Singmaleng International Airport for the official send-off ceremony at midday. The visit of Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon ends on Saturday at 12:30 p.m. with his departure from the Yaoundé-Singmaleng International Airport. We are still in religion, where preparations have intensified in Yaoundé ahead of the visit of Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon from the distance of Madoshe Kouyaté. Let's get details in the following report. The city of Yaoundé is witnessing heightened activities as preparations intensify for the historic visit of Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon. From major roundabouts to church premises, sanitation teams and volunteers have been working tirelessly to ensure a clean and welcoming environment. Streets across the capital are being decorated, while security measures have been reinforced to guarantee order and safety throughout the anticipated visit. Under the patronage of the Metropolitan Archbishop of Yaoundé, His Grace Jean Barga, the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Yaoundé has coordinated extensive preparations within parishes and public spaces. Prominent among these efforts is the beautification of the Our Lady of Victory's Cathedral of Yaoundé, where banners bearing messages such as Apostolic Visit of His Holiness Pope Leo XIV to Cameroon and Welcome Holy Father, Our Lady of victory rejoices have been mounted. In addition, commemorative fabrics in green and blue colors are currently being sold around the church premises as part of souvenirs marking the papal visit. The apostolic visit is expected to draw thousands of faithful and dignitaries, reflecting its importance for the Catholic community and the nation at large. The Holy Father's stay in Cameroon is scheduled to take place from April 15 to 18, 2026 as part of a broader pastoral journey aimed at strengthening faith, promoting peace and fostering unity among believers. For many residents of Yaoundé and beyond, the upcoming visit represents a moment of spiritual significance and national pride as the country prepares to welcome the leader of the Catholic Church. Away from religion, let's now talk something else, where Yaoundé is hosting the first national symposium and roundtable discussions on action against non-communicable diseases in Cameroon under the theme nutrition and non-communicable diseases. The two-day meeting is aimed at discouraging the consumption of ultra-processed food and encourage healthier eating. The event was opened by the Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dion Gote, Elise Yanda, and Sharon Aratany.
Nutrition and non-communicable disease (NCDs) remains a critical public health concern in Cameroon. This issue was highlighted during the first national symposium and roundtable dedicated to addressing the growing burden of NCDs in the country. Current data indicate that approximately 182 deaths occur each week as a result of unhealthy dietary habits, which are recognized as a leading risk factor for non-communicable diseases. This initiative is in line with World Health Organization's work, since the fight against non-communicable disease is a key pillar of WHO's mandate. When defining its fourth general work program, WHO emphasized 4 pillars. The first pillar is health promotion, which involves addressing health determinants. These alarming statistics underscores the urgent need for coordinated and sustained action. Addressing this challenge requires a comprehensive understanding of the social, commercial, and environmental determinants that influence dietary behaviors. Individuals' ability to make healthy food choices is often shaped by external factors, including food availability, marketing practices, economic constraints, and environmental conditions.
La lutte contre ces déterminants
socially extremely important if we want to fight non-communicable diseases. To these determinants are also added what we call commercial determinants. Is the tobacco industry, its processed or ultra-processed foods that pollute our markets, sugary drinks that pollute our market, and we have environmental determinants, which are global challenges such as climate change today, an unhealthy environment, air pollution, water pollution, pollution of salt, and care for others are all factors that affect our health. Effective intervention must be driven at the highest levels of governance. While Cameroon has made notable progress in improving life expectancy from 58 to 64 years, this advancement must be supported by policies and initiatives that ensure long-term health outcomes, especially for future generations.
Vieillir est une bonne chose.
Aging is a good thing, but today we are seeing a lot of people growing old, not in good health. That's extremely important. So if medicine has made programs today to increase life expectancy, for example in Cameroon, which have gone from 58 to 64 years, we think that we must be agents of our health, our good health, to age in good health.
Notre propre santé pour vieillir en bonne santé.
Moving forward, it is essential to promote critical reflection and informed decision-making at both individual and institutional levels. One key recommendation is to significantly reduce the consumption of ultra-processed foods, particularly those high in sugar and salt, as a foundation step in preventing and controlling non-communicable diseases.
And if you're just joining us, it is the 6 p.m. news over Camdis Television. Let's now take you beyond our borders to get updates of what make news. First stop will be in Angola, South Africa, and then the US. These stories are compiled in the following report. At least 40 people have died and several others remain missing after torrential rains triggered devastating floods in parts of Angola, particularly in the capital Luanda and the coastal province of Benguela. The disaster destroyed hundreds of homes, submerged thousands of properties, and affected Ambassador Brent Bussell, whose appointment has been marked by controversy over comments on the country's racial policies and court rulings. During the credential presentation ceremony in Pretoria, Ramaphosa called on diplomats to respect national sovereignty and address concerns through constructive dialogue amid ongoing tensions linked to South Africa's case against Benjamin Netanyahu's government ally and previous diplomatic disputes involving U.S. President Donald Trump. U.S. President Donald Trump has stepped back from plans to launch strikes against Iran, agreeing instead to a 2-week ceasefire aimed at easing tensions and allowing negotiations to proceed following the conflict that began in late February with the support of Israel. Iranian authorities have confirmed their acceptance of the temporary truce and the reopening of the tragic Strait of Hormuz under military supervision, while diplomatic talks are expected to begin soon in search of a lasting peace agreement. The development has raised cautious hopes among international observers that the pause in hostility could create an opportunity for dialogue and help stabilize global energy supplies. We have come to the end of our 6 p.m. news over Camdis Television. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Do enjoy the rest of the evening in the company of interesting programs over the Republican channel. Let's take the appointment tomorrow again when it's exactly 6 p.m.